Alright guys, so this is, I'm just knocking out Patreon requests left and right, and this time we're going to be talking about a Patreon request from my good friend Joel, Joel Davis, who sent me this Patreon request. I've got a few other Patreon requests, but I don't know if I'm going to just do video after video of Patreon requests, so I'm just going to knock out these three and maybe save the next few for another date. Like, maybe hold on to them, because I know I've got a few others, but I'm rambling at this point. Anyway, so for here, he asked me to do what is known as Faction Wars. Faction Wars used to be a series I used to do on here, but now I go over and do that on Patreon. If you are curious to see the Faction Wars, that's where also the Versus videos are, that's where the crossover pairing videos are, that's all over there. Like, that's all over my Patreon. And like I said, if you want your own Patreon request done, please check out the link below. Join my Patreon and hit the 4th tier there. That way you'll be able to not only send me a personal message for a video to do here on YouTube, but also to check out the other exclusive videos there on Patreon as it is. Anyway, so this is, like I said, a faction war, but Joel asked me to do a faction war between two major, I guess you could say, villain factions in a way, and that is the Horde from She-Ra Princesses of Power and the Decepticons from, of course, Transformers. So the Horde versus the Decepticons. This is kind of a big matchup. This is really a big matchup in this kind of crossover, because this is basically a fight between I guess you could say one kingdom versus an empire in a way. So let's get started with the Horde. So for reference, obviously we're talking about the Horde from She-Ra Princesses of Power, and the Horde itself is more built like an army that is made up of soldiers as well as like Horde robots and whatnot, and advanced technology, but it's still kind of bonded as well as magic. You have, heavy hitters like Hordak and, Shadow Weaver, then you have like other great fighters like Scorpia, Catra, even Rogelio and Lonnie are also pretty strong. I was going to say Kyle. I was like, oh wait, it's Kyle. Never mind. And that's the thing, is that there are Horde soldiers they're just flesh and blood, and they do cower. They do kind of like run off when they see dangerous opponents. So the Horde is I wouldn't say a well-oiled machine. It's more of also you could say like Entrapta for a while was part of the Horde as well. So that's another thing you have to look at. And these guys do use a mixture of magic and science in their battles. Like, that's another major aspect, is that these guys depend heavily on magic and science, not just through brute strength. The same cannot be said for the Decepticons, who are the Decepticons are made specifically for just raw, untempered power. Like, they are just ferocity, peace through tyranny. That's kind of the mindset for every Decepticon, is peace through tyranny, and they mean every goddamn word of it. The Megatron has been known to kill his those who do not live up to his expectations. You also have, of course, other great warriors like Soundwave. Starscream in his own right, when he's not being a total bitch, can be dangerous in his own right. And of course, Shockwave brings all of the horrific scientific technology at his disposal. Basically, like, the thing is that Megatron has his own little triumvirate that he can fall back on, even though one of them tends to stab him in the back. Soundwave, Shockwave, Starscream, he can depend on them, not so much like as in terms of loyalty for one of them, but the thing is that these guys are built for just domination. He knows if he can point all three of them, not to mention his other warriors, in the right direction, they will decimate everything in their path. Not to mention, Megatron and the Decepticons have more combiners than the Autobots. I'm talking like Devastator, Bruticus, Menasor, yeah, those the big three right there. The big three. Not to mention you have Tidal Wave, the Decepticon who's a fucking battleship. Then you have an aircraft carrier, essentially, and you have Trypticon. I don't see the Horde having any of that. I do not see the Horde. The Horde does not have anything in their armada. Like, they do have ships, but they don't have anything that can even, like, possibly, you know, bring down something as big and powerful as, like, you know, just one combined. Like, I could see, like, Devastator just marching through the Fright Zone and just boom on Hordak's castle. Let alone if you unleash, you know, Menace along with Bruticus and Menasor alongside with Devastator. Yeah, the Horde is in for a very, very bad time in that regard. And what's going to happen if they, God forbid, they drop Trypticon in the Fright Zone? If they just let the Godzilla-sized monster just rampage through there, you know, unleashing Trypticon there. And, you know, you also have, like, other dangerous Decepticons, like, of course, the Triple Changers, like Blitzwing and Astro Train. You have, you've got others like the DJD, the Decepticon Justice Division. Horrifying. Will do horrifying things to you. But I'm not counting the Horde out just yet. This may seem like a total slaughter, but the Horde is, like, the Horde, obviously there's a size difference between your basic Decepticon warrior and your Horde soldier. But the thing is that the Horde will probably, like, adjust. Like, I imagine, like, the beginning of a war between the Horde and Decepticons. I imagine the Decepticons are going to be getting their licks in first. Like, they are going to be dominating them in every corner of this battle at the beginning of this war. But the Horde, the thing is that Hordak, along with having Entrapta and Shadow Weaver there, they're going to be, like, constantly, like, adjusting to it. Because, like I said, the Horde does have something the Decepticons don't have. That's magic. And magic can really mess up the... Now, they do also have, like, some access to, like, very powerful First One's tech and Doomsday weapons in a way. But that's the other thing they have on their side is, you know, untempered technology and magic that the Decepticons don't understand. Granted, when they do get their hands on it, because of course they would get their hands on it at some point during this conflict, Shockwave is going to analyze the shit out of this. And there's literally nothing that Shockwave can't analyze and reverse engineer into a horrible Decepticon weapon of destruction. So that's something you have to look at, is that the Decepticons will probably, like... The thing of it is that I do see the, like, Hordak and the Horde holding their own for a while during this entire conflict. But eventually, the problem is that the Decepticons can just... The other thing is, too, like, the Decepticons can consume Energon, which they can harvest from, if this battle was taking place on Etheria, they can just harvest Energon from around, from different areas. And they're littered with magic, so magic-empowered Decepticons is a horrifying thought. And again, once Shockwave figures out how to use First One's tech and the magic inside of it, then it's kind of a lost war. But I do think that Hordak, if the Horde and the Horde can, like, will definitely, like, drag out the war, but I think it's inevitable that the Decepticons win this conflict, unfortunately. So, yeah, it's the Decepticons to win. They're just bigger, they're stronger, they've got more forces, and they can outlast a war. Remember, Megatron was a soldier, he was a gladiator, and he's got soldiers who know how to fight and to lead an army. And they've got the other thing, air superiority. They have the most dangerous flyers at their disposal. So Hordak and the Horde will probably put up a fight, but this is going to the Decepticons, in my opinion. But you guys tell me in the comments below, who do you think would come out on top in this matchup? Do you think it would be the Horde or the Decepticons in this faction war? Just comment below, let me know. And once again, I'd like to thank Joel Davis for sending me this request for Patreon. But other than that, and once again, if you would like a Patreon request done, please just click the link below and head over to my Patreon, join the 4th tier, and yeah, who knows, maybe I'll do a video for you someday. But that all depends on going the link, joining my Patreon. But other than that, I'm Mr. Multiverse. I'll see you next time in the Multiverse.